Today is Wednesday, November 5th, and time for a political update. The big issue of the day, of course, is membership, or more specifically, the lawsuit against the MCK initiated by Wanique Horn-Miller and several other people based on residency requirements, etc., etc. The MCK is limited in what it can comment on due to the lawsuit. However, the Grand Chief did appear and did many interviews, as a matter of fact, with various media, both local and outside the territory, the CBC. There's a link to an interview that was done with the Power and Politics program. We'll have a link to that that you can click on. And also, he appeared on Montreal radio station CJAD to discuss some aspects of the things he could talk about in regard to the lawsuit and the issue at hand.
Gazette this morning that the paper has a copy of the motion that says, well, first of all, this policy came into effect in 1981, and there are those who say that it violates the Quebec and the Canadian Charters of Rights, that it's unconstitutional. So what do you say? What is happening?
Well, number one, it's not a policy. In 1981, the community stood up and said enough is enough in terms of the marrying out percentages that were happening within the community at that time, and made a decree basically telling the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake that you must pass a law in lieu of this moratorium. So from May 22nd, 1981, on paper, is when it was first prescribed, so to speak, on behalf of community. But this is again, not policy or law, but an understanding in Kahnawake, from my perspective and many communities' perspectives, for long before 1981. But it's been put in law in 84. Put in law in 2003, and the sentiment is continuously getting stronger. We've put in place a legislative coordinating commission and a community decision-making process to amend and or put laws into place in the hands of the community, and there's been over 20 sessions held recently in the last 2 years for amendment of the so-called membership law in this community, and not once has it been raised that non-natives need to be allowed to live here. So there's been opportunities to change the law. It just hasn't been done. But again, it needs to be corrected that it's not policy, it's communal law.
Of course, no one expects that this issue will end anytime soon. There's a long way to go. In the meantime, the MCK has issued a notice to the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, the Federal Minister, Bernard Valcourt, who issued an erroneous statement in regard to the current situation. The MCK has sent notice to the minister. They're looking for corrections and apologies on that, and you can check out the recent press release on that. Basically, minister said, quote, "It is troubling that the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake seeks to evict over 200 members and non-members from the territory based on race." And the MCK certainly taking issue with that and felt the minister needs to get it corrected. In other developments, Environment Portfolio Chief Clinton Phillips announced that the MCK will be filing an application to gain intervener status at the upcoming hearings for a new pipeline that is going to be built between North Bay and Montreal. North Bay being in Ontario and Montreal. And the National Energy Board is going to be conducting hearings either late this year and probably, if not starting early in 2015, but certainly going to be lasting for about 14, 15 months. That project, a $12 billion one, the National Energy Board conducting hearings. MCK, of course, appeared last year and had an effect on those hearings. And again, Chief Clinton Phillips speaking to us here, saying that Kahnawake has no option other than to make an intervention at this time.
We're doing it because we have to. It's not a choice. We have to. You know, when Kahnawake gets involved in issues such as environmental issues, people listen. You know, I'll look back at 2-3 weeks ago with the David Suzuki trip and the Mount Kaya Coup. Look at all the things that we've done in the past with Bruce Power, and you know, when we get involved, people tend to listen. Governments tend to listen.
And finally, the long-awaited Kahnawake Justice Systems Law, usually referred to as the Justice Act, will be nearing its completion, and is going to its third hearing, that being on Thursday, November the 13th at the Golden Age Club. Now, this is a law of historic proportions. It is all about jurisdiction, creating and defending local jurisdiction. So the community is invited to attend. It will be the official reading into law. The process after that is for it to go to Chief and Council, who will sign an MCR, and at that point it becomes law. A lot of work has gone into this. It has been worked on for the better part of 7 or 8 years. So more on that as we get closer. It's actually about a week away. And that's our report this time around. Joe Delarone reporting. Thanks for watching.